Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, it's a real honor for me to have this opportunity to share my views with you. I guess this leg of the hearings focuses on organizational issues, and obviously, as you can tell from my prepared statement, I have very strong views that the suggestion of separating domestic intelligence out of the FBI and creating a separate MI5 type agency is a very bad idea, and I'll be glad to answer the Commission's any questions the Commission may have about that topic, or in fact any other topic that arose during the day. When we make organizational decisions or judgments in the national security arena, we frequently create dichotomies and fissures that really are artificial and create difficulties. And obviously one of the fundamental decisions we made was separating foreign and domestic intelligence. Well, in the area of terrorism or in the drug war and in many areas we face, threats do not emerge in tidy categories of domestic threat or foreign threat. They're integrated wholes. These are foreign intelligence, they're foreign terrorist organizations that are attacking us and trying to insinuate themselves into the United States, but they don't neatly fall into either category, and we frequently spend a lot of time, once we make these divisions, trying to surmount the institutional difficulties by reintegrating them in some form or another. And I think looking back at 9/11, I think one of the foremost structural shortcomings we had in our counterterrorist effort was this separation of law enforcement and intelligence, and the idea that they can be easily cabined and carried out in separate domains. And I think this is obviously a false dichotomy. Terrorist organizations don't present themselves to us either as a law enforcement matter or a national security danger. They are both at the same time, and they're the different sides of exactly the same coin, and we have to approach them as both national security threats and law enforcement threats. I think the primary lesson to be learned from 9/11 organizationally is the need to tightly integrate our law enforcement activities and our intelligence activities in the area of domestic counterterrorism. And I think the FBI is, in fact, uniquely situated to provide the kind of integrated approach that's necessary by conducting both sets of activities in tandem. Clearly, there were problems at the FBI, at the CIA, and many of the agencies that contributed in one way or another to our failure to detect the imminent attack from al-Qaeda. Now, my own view is that the genesis of this is not so much some kind of institutional incapacity to handle national security and law enforcement at the same time. In fact, historically, through World War II and well beyond, the FBI did view itself and did a fairly good job in both the national security arena and law enforcement. I really think the genesis of the difficulty came more from external constraints placed on the FBI and the societal expectations in the 70s and 80s and even into the early 90s. But whatever the source of the problem, the fact is there were problems, and I think that Attorney General Ashcroft and Director Mueller have made major strides in addressing them. They clearly have reoriented the FBI and made it very clear that the mission is preemption or prevention of terrorist attacks, not the ultimate prosecution of a case. And on the intelligence side, they have proceeded, Director Mueller's proceeded to create collection capabilities at the FBI to create the capacity to fuse and disseminate intelligence with all other sources of information, and creating an analytical capability within the FBI, but also fusing and coordinating and contributing to other analytical infusion centers in the intelligence community. And on the law enforcement side, we've heard a lot about the dispersed case approach that the FBI uses, and that was a problem as it affected intelligence collection and national security activities. But we see developed within the FBI now an approach that allows the extraction of information from the criminal justice side that has intelligence value, and its dissemination and ultimately its fusion with all other sources of intelligence. In thinking about the institutional locus for for intelligence collection, I think one thing to bear in mind is that intelligence, I think, should be carried out with reference to the end game. Intelligence, at least this kind of intelligence collection, really is not an end in itself. We collect intelligence to act upon it, to do something with it. And in the United States, within the United States, that is domestically, our end game is usually going to be a law enforcement response. And to me, that means that intelligence activities designed to intercept threats within the United States have to be carried out with a view toward all those law enforcement options, an awareness of those options, and an approach that keeps all those options on the table at a moment's notice. For example, there may be a requirement to, at any given time, to pursue evidence. So we may have enough from an intelligence standpoint to satisfy ourselves that a particular group is up to no good. But in order to have something stick against those individuals, we may have to develop some evidence. So that effort has to be carried out with a view toward developing the evidence that could serve as a predicate for a criminal case. Or we may have to develop an alternative source, alternative evidence in order to protect intelligence sources and methods. Or we may need to develop a charge on a technical violation, simply to find a basis for holding somebody. These are all things that are dynamic and that take place in the course of learning more and more about a group. And it seems to me that what that suggests is that in the domestic realm, it's really impossible to separate out and handle on separate tracks the collection of intelligence from the law enforcement context, which in most cases will be the group that's called upon to apprehend and hold the terrorist within the United States. So those are just some general views on these organizational issues. I'll be glad to answer any questions the Commission has.